kind of wrestling fan are you? Maybe you're a casual, maybe a little bit of a creep. Who knows? I have been a fan of wrestling since I was a kid. I used to watch it a lot. Then I stopped. Then I started watching again in 2020, mainly because of this guy. I know what kind of wrestling fan that I am, but I've been exposed to many reactors and the IWC. Ugh. When I was a kid and I got my tooth knocked out, I didn't get money. I got a VHS compilation of The Undertaker. So let's just see what kind of wrestling fan you are. Oh yeah, that's right. We're doing wrestling content here. First time ever. Let's do this. I'm very aware that WrestleMania is just a good 29 days or 28 days, 27, whenever I upload this thing, away. And I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. Love me some good wrestling. You know, I watch WWE mostly, but I'm open to other things. Anyway, do me a favor, like, comment, share, and subscribe so that way the algorithm knows that I'm here. And the Yu-Gi-Oh card of the day, so that we don't skip the intro, is a Hidden Book of Spell. Got a spell card. Awesome. You ready? Let's get to wrestling.
Perfect. Perfect.
And here we go.
This is every type of WWE fan explained, starting with the most common one, the casual. These are the people who tune in for WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, maybe Survivor Series if they're feeling spicy. They'll read the results on the internet. They know who Roman Reigns is. They know John Cena. They probably think Undertaker still wrestles every week. They got jobs, they got lives, they got real responsibilities. They're not spending 3 hours every Monday watching Raw. They'll catch the highlights on YouTube, see the viral moments on Twitter, and call it a day. They know the big names. They might own one wrestling shirt from 2015, but that's about it. They're just normal people who casually enjoy wrestling without making it their entire personality. Unfortunately or fortunately, 70% of wrestling fans are casual. But if you're actually invested in this thing like me, then you're definitely one of these following archetypes, starting with the WWE Loyalist. These people are absolutely locked in. Every Monday they're watching Raw. Every Friday they're watching SmackDown.
Okay.
Heck, they're even watching every episode of NXT to get one glimpse of Obafemi. For premium live events, they got Peacock pulled up before the kickoff show even starts. Triple H could book a 3-hour episode of wrestlers just staring at each other, and these guys would find a way to defend it. They know every storyline, every plot thread, every callback from 6 years ago that nobody else remembers.
Yep.
They're in the live threads on Reddit. They're tweeting during commercial breaks. They're buying the shirts, the action figures, the commemorative chairs. WWE is their religion, and Triple H is their prophet. They'll watch a mid-episode of Main Event just because it has the WWE logo on it. And honestly, props to them for the dedication. But there's a whole other breed of fan who wouldn't be caught dead watching WWE.
Okay, so so I don't want to say I'm a casual, because yeah, I do like watch the shows a lot. I mostly watch Raw and SmackDown. I do watch clips of NXT. I do watch clips of like AEW. If I come across any like indie matches or whatever, I just kind of see how they look. I've seen some ridiculous stuff when it comes to mainly all of this. Doesn't matter if it's WWE or AEW or Ring of Honor or TNA or NXT or whatever. It's just, I've seen some good stuff. I've seen some bad stuff. And I will probably say I'm a mix of a casual and a mix of a WWE loyalist. Because that's how I started watching. You know, I was a kid. I watched the Attitude Era when I probably shouldn't have. And like I said before, I got a loose tooth put under my pillow. I got a Undertaker compilation VHS tape instead. You know, me and my friends would go to each other's houses. You know, we play WWF No Mercy on N64, Dreamcast, all those things. You know, Raw vs. SmackDown, all that stuff. You know, I plan on playing WWE 2K26 when I get the chance and have money. So, you know, I'm 50-50 when it comes to that. Now, apparently they'll talk about the Type 3 indie nerd, and I've seen these people. We got an indie wrestling crowd in Indianapolis that I want to check out. But, you know, we'll see what they say about this person.
The indie nerd will watch AEW, NJPW, GCW, ROH, some obscure British promotion with 12 people in the crowd, but WWE, nah, that's trash. You'll find them saying things like, WWE is for casuals, bro. They don't even wrestle. It's just...
That's Twitter. That's Twitter 100%. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, it's just a cesspool of negativity and a lot of racism, apparently. Because for some reason, that website, you just say whatever you want. There's no consequences. Hell, I'm pretty sure just recently Ricochet had a little bit of trouble with a fan, and apparently Samantha Irvin is getting death threats. I don't know. Either way, wrestling and the internet is just a bad mix.
Just sports entertainment. They got strong opinions about work rate, they know every wrestler's indie name, and they definitely own at least one Bullet Club shirt from 2016. They treat WWE like it's beneath them, like watching it would somehow compromise their integrity as a wrestling fan. But here's the thing, they're still talking about WWE, constantly. They'll spend hours on Twitter explaining why WWE sucks, why their booking is terrible, why Triple H is ruining wrestling, because deep down, WWE lives rent-free in their heads. And you know who's the natural enemy of the indie nerd? The E-Drone.
What's the E-Drone? I didn't know this.
The E-Drone only watches WWE. That's it. AEW, Outlaw Mud Show. New Japan, can't understand it. GCW, backyard garbage. If it doesn't have the WWE logo on it, it might as well not exist. They're in the trenches every single day on Twitter, battling it out with indie nerds in the most pointless debates about ratings and buy rates you've ever seen. It's like watching two bald guys fight over a comb. E-Drones will defend every WWE decision like their life depends on it. Bad booking? You just don't get the long-term storytelling, bro. Boring match?
Oh, boy.
Not every match needs to be a spot fest, bro. They've convinced themselves that WWE is the only real wrestling company and everything else is just cosplay. And God forbid you criticize anything. They'll write you a 15-tweet thread about why you're wrong. The funny part is that they're just as obsessed with other promotions as the indie nerds, except they're obsessed with hating them. But you know who doesn't care about any of this wrestling shit? The Stan.
The Stan?
These people don't give a single F about the actual wrestling. They're not watching for 5-star matches or compelling storylines. Nah, they're here for one reason and one reason only. To thirst. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley.
I will say this. I saw not Rhea Ripley. I wish. I saw Liv Morgan when she was here last year, promoting WrestleMania. Not WrestleMania. She was here for Royal Rumble 2025 Indianapolis. That's when Charlotte Flair came back. Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. And I saw her in person. She was signing autographs, stuff like that. Many people had a Dirty Dom shirt and all that stuff. That is a beautiful woman. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Liv Morgan is a beautiful woman. Of course, it's not her real name, but you know we know her as Liv Morgan. That is a beautiful woman. I got the clip right here. I know you see Liv Morgan sexy. By the way, hearing that laugh in person is crazy.
Roman Reigns. Pick your poison. Their Twitter feed is just screenshots, edits, and unhinged comments like, I would let Rhea Ripley break every bone in my body. Liv Morgan could sit on my face and I'd say thank you. They'll watch a whole 3-hour Raw just to see their favorite wrestler for 8 minutes. They don't know what a Canadian destroyer is, they can't name 5 wrestling holds, and they definitely don't care. Wrestling is just background noise for their parasocial relationship. They got the Instagram notifications on, they're in the replies of every post, and they're fighting other stans in the comments about who's hotter. It's honestly kind of impressive how little they care about the actual product. But as weird as the stans are, there's a much darker version of this fan.
Was it AI generated, by the way?
The creeps are the ones that make everyone uncomfortable and give
no.
wrestling fans a bad rep. The stand was weird, but manageable. But the creep is a legit problem. These guys are showing up at airports at 3 a.m. with a suitcase full of action figures for wrestlers to sign.
They don't like that at all. They hate being approached at airports. And it's crazy to me because I kept hearing that most wrestlers, they had to find their own transportation to city. So it's like, you know, not only are they probably tired, I'm pretty sure they don't want to deal with people coming up to them and be like, hey, Rhea, or hey, blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't want that. They want to do their job and entertain us just for the love of the game. Let them do that. Leave them alone.
They're at every hotel, every restaurant, every public appearance. They know way too much about wrestlers' personal lives, like scary amounts of information. They know where they live, what cars they drive, where their kids go to school, and they think this is normal behavior.
Yeah.
They'll show up to signings without showering, wearing the same unwashed WWE shirt they've had since 2009, reeking like a GameStop dumpster.
And if you look at the pictures, it's pretty, you see a pattern, right? Come on.
And the worst part, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're just supporting their favorites, according to them. Nah, bro, you're being a menace to society. You can be any type of wrestling fan, but just don't be this guy, please.
The nostalgic.
There's one sentence you'll often hear the nostalgic say, and this is, wrestling was better in my day. These guys watched during the Attitude Era, maybe the Ruthless Aggression Era, and they've never let it go. Stone Cold, The Rock, DX, The Undertaker. That was real wrestling. Everything now is just trash.
Yep.
You'll hear them say things like, back in my day, wrestlers had personality. Now everyone's just a generic NPC. They'll pop up occasionally. Watch.
Or an entrance. Jey Uso being the perfect example. He's a mid wrestler. He's only there for the entrances. You know, the people doing the yeet, you know, stuff like that, right? Like, it's go on Instagram, go on X, go on anywhere that's a comment section, even YouTube. You're gonna see these kind of people. Look, I grew up watching the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era. You know, like I said before, 2020, I just kind of started watching wrestling again by accident because, you know, the news station I worked at, the Weatherman, older than me by the way, big fan of wrestling. I'm pretty sure he still is. But I watched it with him before the news station started the show at 11 o'clock at night. So that's how I kind of got back into it.
15 minutes of Raw, then turn it off in disgust. The thing is, they want to like wrestling again. They're not fully gone. They're just waiting for that magical moment when it feels like 1998 again. But hey, at least they watched wrestling at some point. Unlike some fans who are only here for the violence. The deathmatch lover doesn't care about wrestling. They only care about carnage. Light tubes, barbed wire, thumbtacks, glass, fire. The more violent, the better. They're watching GCW Tournament of Survival, CZW, and whatever insane deathmatch promotion is running shows in a warehouse somewhere. Regular wrestling bores them to tears. They'll sit through a 30-minute deathmatch that's basically two guys slowly killing each other for $50 and a hot dog, and they'll call it peak wrestling. But who cares about work rate when you can watch someone get thrown into barbed wire, right? They're the wrestling equivalent of people who only watch NASCAR for the crashes. And the wildest part is that they're out here defending this stuff like it's high art. But on the complete opposite end of this spectrum, we have the purist.
Okay, just to talk about that. I cannot stand... Look, there are ways to have a death match actually be good, right? Like if it's like a stipulation involved or something like that. But when you do it every week, no, I can't do it. It's just... It's not wrestling to me to have somebody be constantly smacked with light fixtures, whipped, have thumbtacks in their body, bloodied up. It's not wrestling to me. It's just people doing carnage for carnage. Those are the people you gotta watch out for. because people will call that wrestling and will not let it die, not let it go either. So nostalgic ones and the deathmatch ones, those are ones you need to look out for, because that's a mix of both from back in the day.
Purist is all about pure technical ability, chain wrestling, mat work, and submissions. They're watching 1990s All Japan, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, and Bryan Danielson classics. If there's not at least 3 different arm drag variations in the first 5 minutes, they're not interested. They'll watch a 30-minute match that's just 2 guys doing holds and reversals, and they'll be more entertained than if you showed them the wildest spot fest ever. They hate high spots, they hate blood, they definitely hate anything sports entertainment. But they're also kind of insufferable about it. They're the wrestling equivalent of film bros who only watch black and white movies with subtitles.
The Wannabe Wrestler.
These guys don't just watch wrestling, they're preparing for it. They're in the gym 6 days a week, doing the workouts, eating chicken and rice, building that wrestler physique. They got notebooks full of match analyses. They're watching Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels frame by frame, studying every counter, every transition, every psychology trick. They're watching shoot interviews, listening to podcasts, learning the business inside and out.
There's a lot of
they
those.
respect the craft, they respect the business, and they're actually putting in the work. But there's one type of fan who thinks they could book wrestling better without ever stepping in a ring.
What?
The fantasy bookers got Google Docs, they got spreadsheets, they got full year-long storylines planned out for every wrestler on the roster. They're out here writing entire WrestleMania cards, planning feuds, creating championships, doing things that Triple H gets paid millions to do but still sucks at. But hey, every wrestling fan needs a creative outlet, I guess. And speaking of fantasy booking, make sure to check out some of the dope fantasy booking videos on WrestleMafia next.
Yeah, that's pretty much all of the IWC in general. Oh my God, that's accurate. When it comes to me in wrestling, I am more of a guy that enjoys sports entertainment. I like to see a mix of things. If there is a death match stipulation, then yeah, do your best to make it great. If there are wrestlers that like to do like the pure kind of wrestling, like a Kurt Angle or a Chris Benoit, which, you know, screw that guy, but either way, people like that. You know, if there's some high flyers, some, you know, spot crazy people, I like a good mixture of myself, of the stuff when I'm watching it. Now, I know there are people that are probably also like, but what about the story? You know, the story addicts, you know, that think about, you know, hey, this match is okay, but what does it do? What does it lead to this PLE or that PLE? What story they're trying to tell when it comes to this, that, and other thing? That's another one that's annoying to me. But like I'm kind of a story guy too. But like I said, I'm a mixture of a lot of things. I'm a mixture of a casual. I'm a mix of a loyalist. I'm the person that likes to see different types of, you know, wrestling, you know, promotions, not just one. But I understand all of this. The creeps are the worst ones, in my opinion. And if you saw the pictures, there's definitely a pattern. But if you enjoyed this video, let me know. And if you remember the Yu-Gi-Oh card of the day, drop it in the comments. I definitely want to do more wrestling content. I do a lot on my TikTok. Follow if you wanna. Yeah. Don't be a creep.